Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something super interesting, things that grown women should never wear. And no, I'm not just talking about clothes. We're talking about fashion, mindset, confidence, and how psychology plays a huge role in how we present ourselves. Now before we jump in, let me say this. This is not about shaming anyone. We're all about empowerment here. This is about understanding what holds us back, what affects the way people perceive us, and most importantly, what makes us feel our best. Because at the end of the day, style isn't just about what's trendy, it's about what works for you. So let's get into it. You know, as we grow and evolve, so does our style. But sometimes we hold on to things that just don't serve us anymore. And I don't just mean in a fashion sense, I mean in a psychological way. The way we dress, the way we carry ourselves, it all ties into how we feel inside. And that's what makes this conversation so fascinating. All right, let's start with the first thing that grown women should never wear. And trust me, this one is a game changer. That one thing is clothes that make you feel invisible. Let me explain. How many times have you put something on and immediately felt off? Maybe it's that old sweater that you've had forever, or those jeans that don't fit quite right, but you keep them anyway. If you're wearing something that makes you shrink into the background, that's a problem. Psychology tells us that what we wear affects not just how others see us, but how we see ourselves. There's even a term for this, enclothed cognition. It's the idea that what we wear actually influences our confidence, our mood, and even our performance. So, if you're wearing something that doesn't make you feel like the best version of yourself, it's time to let it go. Because confidence isn't just about looking good, it's about feeling good. Now let's move on to something that I know a lot of people can relate to, wearing clothes that aren't comfortable. And no, I'm not saying you should live in sweatpants. Unless that's your thing, of course. But what I am saying is that if you're constantly adjusting your outfit, pulling at your sleeves, or feeling like you can't breathe, that's a problem. Here's the thing. When you're uncomfortable, it shows. Your body language changes. You're more focused on fixing your clothes than being present in the moment, and it can even make you seem less confident. Research has shown that when we wear clothes that fit well and feel good on our skin, we actually carry ourselves differently. We stand taller, we speak more confidently, and we feel more in control. And let's be real, confidence is one of the most attractive things a woman can wear. Now, speaking of confidence, let's talk about something a little deeper. Wearing outdated beliefs about yourself. I know, this one isn't about fashion, but hear me out. So many of us hold on to ideas about ourselves that simply aren't true anymore. Maybe someone told you years ago that you couldn't pull off a certain style or that you weren't the fashionable type. Maybe you've convinced yourself that certain clothes aren't for you. But let me ask you, who made these rules? Who decided what you can and can't wear? Because let me tell you something, style has no age limit. And confidence, that never goes out of style. So if you've been holding on to old beliefs that keep you from trying something new, whether it's a bold color, a different silhouette, or even just stepping outside of your fashion comfort zone, it's time to let them go. And while we're on the topic of outdated things, let's talk about actual outdated trends. Now don't get me wrong, fashion is all about personal style, and if you love something, own it. But sometimes we get stuck in a time warp, holding on to styles that just don't work for us anymore. And I'm not saying you need to follow every new trend that comes along, but updating your look every now and then, that can be a huge confidence booster. Think about it this way. When you refresh your wardrobe, even just a little, it sends a message to yourself that you're evolving, that you're not stuck in the past, that you're embracing who you are right now. And that's powerful. Now let's get into something that I know a lot of us have been guilty of at some point, wearing things just because they were expensive. Oh yeah, we're going there. Listen, just because something costs a lot doesn't mean it deserves a place in your closet. If you bought something super pricey but it doesn't fit or it doesn't make you feel amazing, let me tell you, it's not adding value to your life. It's just taking up space. This ties into something called the sunk cost fallacy. It's a psychological principle where we hold on to things simply because we've already invested in them. But here's the truth. Keeping something you don't love just because it was expensive is not a good enough reason to keep it. Your closet should be filled with things that make you feel incredible, not things that make you feel guilty. Now let's talk about something else that we need to stop. Wearing comparison. Phew, this one's big. We live in a time where it's so easy to compare ourselves to others, especially with social media. But the truth is, when you compare yourself to someone else, you're setting yourself up for failure because you're measuring yourself against their journey, their style, their choices, not your own. So instead of thinking, I wish I looked like her, or I wish I could pull that off, ask yourself, what makes me feel amazing? Because that is what truly matters. All right, so we've talked about a lot today, things we should stop wearing, not just on our bodies, but in our minds. And I hope this video has inspired you to rethink your wardrobe, your mindset, and how you show up in the world. Because at the end of the day, style isn't just about what's on the outside, it's about how you feel inside. You know that feeling when you put on an outfit and suddenly feel unstoppable? That's the energy we're chasing. But the opposite is true too. If you're wearing something that makes you feel small, uncomfortable, or not like yourself, it's doing you a disservice. So what's the first thing a grown woman should never wear? Clothes that make you feel invisible. Think about it. How often do we wear things that don't represent who we are just because they're safe? Maybe it's that baggy sweater you've had for years, or a neutral-toned wardrobe because you're afraid of standing out. And while there's nothing wrong with neutrals, the problem is when you're dressing to hide rather than to express yourself. Psychologists say that when we dress in a way that makes us feel powerful, we actually become more confident. It's called the power dressing effect. So if your clothes make you feel invisible, it might be time to switch things up. Now let's talk about another mistake, holding on to clothes that don't fit. Listen, I get it. We've all held on to those one-day jeans, the ones we swear we'll fit into again. But here's the thing, keeping clothes that don't fit isn't motivation, it's a form of self-punishment. It creates a negative mental loop where your worth is tied to a size. And honestly, you deserve to feel good in your clothes right now, not someday. So instead of holding on to pieces that don't fit, invest in clothes that make you feel amazing as you are. Because confidence isn't about numbers, it's about feeling good in your own skin. All right, let's get into something a little controversial. Following trends that don't suit you. Now don't get me wrong, fashion trends can be fun, but the problem comes when we wear something just because it's trendy, even when it doesn't work for us. Maybe it's a style that doesn't fit your body type, or a color that doesn't complement your skin tone. Whatever it is, if it doesn't make you feel amazing, it's not for you. A study in the Journal of Fashion Marketing actually found that people who develop their own sense of style are perceived as more confident and self-assured. So instead of chasing trends, figure out what works for you and own it. Now let's talk about something that's not just about clothes. Wearing guilt. Oh yeah, we're going deep. How often do we wear things just because we feel guilty getting rid of them? Maybe it's an expensive designer bag you never use. Maybe it's a dress your friend bought you that just isn't your style. Whatever it is, keeping it out of guilt is not a good reason to hold on to it. There's something in psychology called the sunk cost fallacy. It's when we keep something just because we already invested in it. But the truth is, if it's not bringing you joy, it's just taking up space. Give yourself permission to let it go. Now, speaking of guilt, let's talk about wearing self-doubt. Ladies, we need to stop apologizing for taking up space. How often do we second-guess our outfit choices? How many times have you put something on and thought, is this too much? Am I trying too hard? What will people think? Here's the truth. If you love it, wear it. If you feel confident in it, own it. Studies show that when we dress in a way that aligns with our personality, we actually perform better in social situations. So stop doubting yourself. Confidence looks good on everyone. All right, let's shift gears and talk about another mistake, wearing things that age you unnecessarily. Now, I'm not saying you need to dress younger. What I am saying is that sometimes we hold on to styles that make us look older than we are. Maybe it's a hairstyle from 10 years ago, or a cut of jeans that doesn't do you any favors. The goal isn't to look younger, it's to look vibrant. A study from the University of California actually found that people who update their style every few years are perceived as more dynamic and youthful, not because they look younger, but because they look current. So if your style hasn't evolved in a while, it might be time to refresh it, not for anyone else, but for you. Now, let's talk about one last thing. Wearing comparison. This might be the most important one. In a world where we're constantly bombarded with images of perfection on social media, it's easy to feel like we don't measure up. But here's the thing. Comparison is the thief of joy. And when you compare yourself to others, you're ignoring what makes you special. Instead of thinking, I wish I looked like her, ask yourself, what do I love about me? Because confidence isn't about looking like someone else. It's about embracing who you already are. Whew, that was a lot, but I hope it gave you something to think about. Remember, style isn't just about clothes. It's about how you show up in the world. So wear what makes you feel amazing, let go of what doesn't, and most importantly, own your confidence. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.